Welcome to the 332nd episode of the FWOT Show. I'm your host, Rob Steele, and boy, do we have a lot of stupidity to get to. But first, I want to kick it off with something that you may not have noticed. You heard about it. It's hard not to have heard about it, but you may not have noticed. We had a sign of the apocalypse this week. The Chicago Cubs won the World Series. I think that's spectacular. I think it's a great thing. The Cubbies have finally got their World Series rings. Okay, technically they don't have the rings yet. They're going to be getting the rings soon, hopefully before the world explodes. Spectacular. However, they beat the Indians, which apparently is a theme we've got going on in the news this week, because even Headline News, who does a fairly good job of just doing news. What a concept for a news network. Hint, hint, Fox. They kind of overblew the World Series thing a little bit, I think, because, as it was reported to me, Thursday morning, Chicago is in the process of exploding because the Cubbies won, and just before they went to commercial, there was a little snippet about a pipeline somewhere in North Dakota where a lot of Native Americans, sometimes still called Indians, even though no one really likes to use that term that way anymore, unless you're in Cleveland or in a high school football game, and there's something I'll get to in a minute. They're trying to block that pipeline, and the police have gone a little bit overboard and pushed them all into a river. This is North Dakota. This is November. The river's going to be a bit, let's say, nippy. They're pepper spraying anyone who gets out of the river. Rubber bullets are being used, all because people do not want a pipeline running through land that's theirs. It was annexed. Yes, we're the government. We can do whatever we want. No, not really. Especially when there's this many people protesting it. You'd think. Now, some of the news networks even did something like, let's say, bringing in a Smithsonian person who says, yes, there are no Native American people or artifacts buried on this land. Even though the people who are protesting said, I buried my grandfather there 2 months ago. He's still there. Indian burial ground. Leave it alone. Now, if you want to say, hey, what if we just want to annex the land? I want you to think about a very simple rule called do unto others as you would have others do unto you. That's the big Christian way of phrasing it, and those are the people who are having the biggest issue with the people protesting. So let's think about this. Would you want someone to just come to your house and say, you know what, we're going to build this big thing that you're not going to be able to do anything with, and we're going to build it in your yard? Would you like them to do that to you? Yeah. Didn't think so. It's just a great big cluster is what this whole thing is, and it's not getting front page news. Granted, that's an outdated term because not many people use newspapers anymore, but I think you get the point. This is the kind of thing we need to be concentrating on. It's a big thing. It's been going on for months. Yeah, months. Is it front page news? No. Why? Don't know. Maybe it's because the Cubs are in the World Series and they won. Spectacular thing. And yet, then there's Donald Trump, and yes, I'll get to him in a minute. But apparently it's just beat down Native Americans week, because not only did the Indians lose, the Cleveland variety, and the Native Americans are losing in North Dakota, but how about this out of an Ohio high school where cheerleaders from McLean High School, which is somewhere southwest of Columbus, about an hour, give or take, the McLean Tigers were playing the Hillsboro Indians. Oh, goody. Here comes another one. So the Tiger cheerleaders came out with a great big sign that says, hey, Indians, get ready for a Trail of Tears Part 2. Yeah, there's pictures, and it was covered by lots of news networks. Really, is there no supervision to this team at all whatsoever? Or if there is, was it done by Trump? Because that's just dickish. There is not another word for it. And you'd think somewhere, someone might have even looked this up and gone, this might not be a good idea, because it was done before in Alabama back in 2013, almost to the day, he says, being off by about 15 days or so, when students at Macadori High School in McCalla, Alabama, which I may or may not be pronouncing correctly, had almost an exact same banner when they played a local team that is also called the Indians that I don't have a name for, and I apologize for that. I should have their name, and it's not in any of the stories I can find, apart from, the banner. Got the banner. Banner isn't the point. The point is, look at all the dickish people all over the place, and we've even got some running for president. Seriously. Now, where do I start with this? Because this is the last week I get to talk about pre-election stuff. I hope. I really hope. I really, really, really hope. Because I don't know about you, but I'm sick of this shit. It needs to be done. Get it over with. Be done with it. Be gone, damn you. But let's go through our main two candidates, Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, because we know it's going to be one of them. The Independents and the Green Party and the Labor Party and the Whigs and whoever the hell else thinks they're running, it's going to be Clinton or Trump. Should have been Bernie. It's not Bernie. Fine. Clinton or Trump. Now, let's say a scandal count, because that seems to be the big thing, a scandal count. So let's start with Clinton's scandals. There's the Clinton Foundation. You know what? That's been under investigation since 92. Have they found anything? No. So it's not really that much of a scandal. Then there's Benghazi, where we found out that it was actually the Republicans who cut the funding, which means if the funding is cut, they can't have the security, which means she can't do her job as effectively as everyone thinks she should have been. Not her fault. Again, even the Republicans have said, hey, this isn't a scandal, we made this crap up. Which leaves us with email. Now, I'd like to ask you this. Are you so tired of hearing about the email investigation that you don't want to open your own email anymore? That's kind of the way I am. Anyway, this week, we're going to reopen the investigation into the email because Anthony Weiner got an email that had nothing to do with Hillary, so the investigation had to be reopened. Yeah, if that makes sense to anyone, let me know, because I am confused. Does not make any sense, so we move on and realize Hillary Clinton has 3 scandals, and that's them. And they're done. Not even much of a scandal to go with them. Meanwhile, let's go to, a missionary Baptist church called Hopewell in Greenville, Mississippi, where Trump supporters were inspired to set fire to the primarily African-American church and spray paint the words, "Vote Trump," all over it. Now, like I said, Donald Trump did not do this himself, but he did inspire his supporters to do it. Scandal number 1. Scandal number 2. Did you know that Donald Trump just got hit with a massive $32 million fraud and tax evasion lawsuit? Scandal number 2. Now, that lawsuit, by the way, does not include when he's going to court at the end of the month, the 18th, for the fraud charges having to do with Trump University, nor does it have to do with him going to New York City courts on December 16th to do with the rape charges. Those are separate scandals from the list I am compiling. I'll have that make sense in just a minute, because there's another scandal where Donald Trump earlier this week accused the U.S. Post Office of sealing the election in favor of Hillary Clinton. Because, well, sometimes they throw away ballots that are supposed to be sent to people and stuff, and they're going to vote for Trump, but they got thrown away. No, didn't happen. Was it proven that it didn't happen? Yes, it was proven it didn't happen. Scandal number 3. Scandal number 4, and I think this one's pretty funny. You remember when Donald Trump refused to pay those cutesy little cheerleaders that came out and cheered for him a few months ago? Yeah, that's a scandal. Not the one we're talking about here. I'm talking about a Florida attorney named Bill Scherer, who did some real estate stuff for Donald Trump and billed Donald Trump appropriately. Donald Trump has replied with, "I'm not paying you anything." Not paying back your lawyer? Really? Is that a good idea, Don Boy? No, not a good idea, especially when you're running for president and you're under a microscope, because everybody is. I mean, this goes to the whole Hillary's being investigated by the FBI. So is Donald Trump. So is Jill what's-her-name and Johnson whatever. Everyone who runs for president is investigated by the FBI. It's a good idea to do that before they get into office. Hello. So, let's go back to the scandal count. We have on the tote board Hillary Clinton with the foundation, the email in Benghazi, 3 scandals. As opposed to Donald Trump, who has the black church, he has the lawsuit, he has his meltdown against the post office, and his other lawsuit against his lawyer. That's 4 for Donald Trump. Yay, Don Boy, you win, especially considering those are Hillary's lifetime scandals, and those were just Donald Trump scandals this week. Now, the one last argument I hear against Hillary, she lies. Well, okay, both of them do. Hillary, does she lie? You know what? She's been caught a couple times. She has. It just happens. But let's look at this. She's a politician. That's her job. Lie to the public. That's what politicians have been doing since what? Time began? Now, we might have gotten a little bit used to it because it seems like Obama didn't. How spectacular is that? An honest politician. 1 in 43. Who knew? Does Hillary lie occasionally? Do I trust her more than Don Boy? Absolutely. Because at the first hint of trouble, I can see Donald Trump launching the nuclear weapons, ending the entire planet. Well, I'm rich, so I can stay in my hotel, which is gold-plated, and I'll be safe. Meanwhile, you'll starve to death. Haha, because there's not going to be any more food. Not a good idea. I cannot see any justification for voting for Donald Trump. I can't. Although, another thing I'm going to bring up with Hillary, and this is not her fault, her catchphrase, her slogan, I'm with her. You know what? That's actually fine, except because we're in the final stretch, and I apologize if this comes out sounding really sexist and bad, but I've seen it phrased a lot lately as, I'm with her, period. Only they don't use the comma. I'll let you figure that out on your own and go, because I didn't need that image. Thank you very much. Doesn't matter. November 8th, get out and vote responsibly, because I'd like to do another show next week. And if we vote the wrong way, I can't guarantee that would happen. Speaking of emails, I got an email today from a company that I'm not going to name because this does get a little bit embarrassing. They answered a question I asked them. They said, here's your answer. And I said, that's spectacular. What the hell was the question? And I looked back, and it turns out I had actually emailed them a question 19 months ago today. On the bright side, I suppose they answered. Is this news? Not in the slightest. I just found it amusing. It goes along with Hillary in a strange sort of way and thought I'd pass it on. Next story. Now, this made a few headlines on Facebook, and I'm not entirely sure why. Because, frankly, it's not that big a deal. The original story read as a headline, international musicians must now pay 42% more to tour in the U.S. And the gist of the story was that because they have to pay so much more money, then ticket prices are going to go up, and it's going to be really expensive to see artists who are worth a shit in this country. Because a lot of American artists come out of American Idol, and we know how I feel about that, don't we? So what exactly is going to happen? That would be on December 20th, 2016. There will be a 42% increase per act, not person, per act, on the fee for the Form I-129, which is a required form for non-immigrant actors, artists, athletes, and musicians entering the United States for work. The cost of the form will raise from $325 to $460. Really? Really? That's what we're... A raise of $135. You know what? I can probably scrape that up around the house. Okay, I'll probably have to sell a couple things to get there, but you know what? You're doing a big major tour. I think you can afford it. Now, it sounds like I'm complaining at the artists, and I'm not, because the artists are not the ones to blame here. Let's look at the press that made this, oh my God, the world is going to end. It's not. Artists are still going to come here. There's still going to be big tours, and the ticket prices, they're already too much. We'll be fine, provided Trump doesn't get elected and the world ends. Just saying. Like to end on a happy note, a happy story. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and say it's a terribly silly story. It has to do with Halloween. where a Burger King in New York, a Burger King, the entire restaurant, covered itself in a massive sheet with ghost eye holes and claimed to be the ghost of McDonald's. Seriously, a Burger King restaurant dressed up as the ghost of McDonald's. You can find this all over the place online. It's really cute, actually. An entire store draped as a ghost, although they do have a sign out front that says, "Boo." Nah, just kidding. We still flame grill our burgers. Happy Halloween. If you are as amused by this story as I am, as you should be, contact me through the website. Actually, you can contact me if you have questions about anything, any comments on the show. Go to the website, thefwotshow.com. There's buttons for Facebook and Twitter and email and all that good stuff. There's also buttons for iTunes and the Google Play Store. Subscribe to the show because it's easier to get it that way. Also, while you're at it, if you don't mind, go ahead and review the show because apparently I need more reviews. Someone told me that. I don't know who. Anyway, something I need to do. Because if I don't, then I don't have enough to do the show anymore, and then you won't be getting your weird fact of the week. And this week's weird fact comes from next week. Yeah, a future weird fact. That's one of the things that makes it weird. November 8th, this coming Tuesday, is Election Day. I know, right? That's weird. And I know some of you are thinking, what's weird about that? The weird thing is, it's the 2016 presidential election day. It's going to feel weird because that's the day when everyone should get out and vote responsibly, which means not for Trump. And then the 2016 presidential campaign, which I'm pretty sure started in 1837, will be over. It'll be done. We can move on to other things. So hopefully by the end of the month, we can concentrate on actual news stories. Instead of, oh Christ, what did Trump do this time? Are you looking forward to that? I know I am. In the meantime, get out and vote, and be careful because it is weird out there.